If you saw the previous video on this truck, I had two codes that were hard failures. One was for an evap vent solenoid and one was for a knock sensor. So we're going to dig into that today and see if those are easy fixes. Then I found in my stash of reusable parts, I got a good vent solenoid that came from my purple GMC that I scrapped. And then I got a knock sensor that came off of the bad engine in my brown Silverado. So I'm going to just try these freebie parts. I confirmed these both came off of a 2008 1500. They will interchange with the 08 2500 with the 6-liter. Did that by looking up both vehicles on Rock Auto, and both call for the same part numbers, so we should be good to go there. Specifically, we're going after P0332, knock sensor circuit low, and P0449, evap system vent control circuit open. One thing I'm going to just do is go into this evap vent solenoid test. And so if you do on and off, watch this commanded state, on, off. I should hear it clicking from back here under the truck, roughly the fuel tank area, and I don't hear anything. I don't think it would come up on this microphone anyway. So let me get down and dirty underneath this thing and find the part. Alright, here's where it's located. Getting down underneath, we're between the cab and the back wheel here. Okay, at the back of the fuel tank, right in front of the differential. There's our valve right here. This is the fuel tank underneath of the bed. And here it is, and it's just going to have an electrical connector and two hoses connected to it, and it sits in this little bracket. It's not even held on by anything, it's not held on by a bolt or anything. So once you unhook these two lines, it just slides out of place. So let me get those off of there and we'll go from there. Okay, I got a heat gun. I got my new old vent valve that is a known good one. I put a little grease on these fittings, just help slide the hose back on. If you buy a new one of these, I think they come with the hoses. I'm just being cheap and resourceful and reusing one I had. Obviously, don't use a heat gun if you smell gas at all. Do this outdoors in a well ventilated area. And I'm just gonna hit these with just a little bit of the heat gun just to make them more pliable, so I can slip them off and slip them on the new one. And I mentioned before, you don't need any tools. You just need to push down this tab, and then this valve will come off of its bracket. See, that's it. Just sits on there like that. Alright. So I'm going to do this off camera because I need two hands. Okay, here's the old one out. And you can see, here's where the wire plugs in. This is the electrical portion of the part. And you can see how it's rust jacked so bad that it cracked the plastic housing. So I think it's safe to say that this is definitely electrically dead. But also, I hooked up a test light to that connector. It's just a positive, negative, and then I toggled it with the scan tool. Lights on, lights off. So definitely that's junk, and definitely have the power signal we need here at the connection. So the new part should fix this problem. Okay, got the new old one. Not the old one, but the new old one in place. And this hose here was not cooperating going back on there, so I just used this little piece of rubber hose that was actually still attached on this one before. It's a very tight fit. I can throw a couple clamps on there if needed, if desired later. But you know what they say, it's only temporary unless it works, and then it's permanent. But this is all hooked up now.
Well, it wasn't immediately obvious to me, but this used part actually was no good. Even though it worked great when I took it off the other truck, you can see here it says fault on those two things. It worked good on the other truck. I stored it for a little while, went and plugged it in here, and it had just died. So what's happening here, I've applied 30% vacuum on it through the purge valve, and it's not building any vacuum. That negative 1.27, it should be increasing a lot from there, but this used valve is stuck open and it's not working. You'll see that later when I install a good one. That number climbs up quickly.
Pressure sensor. We lost our vacuum right away, so there's still a leak somewhere. So it is failing even with the new part. This failed current. Now for that knock sensor, this guy, he is right here on the passenger side, just behind the wheel, in front of the starter. And you can see it right there. It's a black thing with the white plug attached. And I believe that's a 13mm bolt. Looks suspiciously like this thing. So, get that changed out real quick. Just squeeze this tab and pull. That comes off, piece of cake. And I'll go get a wrench and swap that out. Old one on the right, replacement on the left. You can see that one's rust jacketed and busted, so no surprise that was our fault. So I'm just going to get this thing popped in and reconnected. I plugged it in first so it would be oriented in such a way that the connector didn't interfere with things. I don't want it to twist around the wrong way. Just get that good and snug down. I don't know what the torque spec is. No one in the history of the world has ever torqued these with a torque wrench. Okay, all that's left is that evap circuit code. Start it up. Give it a little rev. That should set the engine light for a knock sensor if it wasn't behaving. Yeah, so that's fixed. Okay, it's not really in my nature to let the rusty junk defeat me, so I got another vent valve from that truck, which you may recognize from my best viewed video yet, the parts truck, the $350 Sierra. And that one has just now begun giving, so it's giving to this project. This looks like a replacement. It's got hoses on either end with clamps. It doesn't look like a fresh replacement. And then it's also got this weird little adapter harness This is a different plug on the unit with this adapter that looks like the plug on this truck. So I am going to swap this in and we'll try again. Okay, here's my third vent valve. This is the one from the white truck. I reused these little sections of hose. I slapped some grease around inside there just to help it slide on better. Did that with both of them. And like I was mentioning, it's got this little adapter harness. So this is all hooked up now, and I'm gonna try again and see if we lost that code, see if it'll seal the system. Start it up. Oh, look at that. It's the first time I've had this truck running with no engine light. Interesting. So let's see what we got. No codes. And then I'm going to escape out. It's under special function. There it is. You. Alright. System seal. Increase. Let's get up to like 30%, 40%. And there's our vacuum. That's pulling a way stronger vacuum than before. And then if I hit system seal, that holds it much better than it did before. Before it would instantly drop to no vacuum. And we didn't get close to 16. It's going to naturally have some little type of leak. But we're on the right track here. I'm going to take the truck and run it down the street and back real quick and see if we get any codes. Alright, looks like I was successful. No check engine light. You can see it's been running a while. It's getting warmed up. I drove it down my road and back. I can only get up to 25 or 30 on my road without... it's just a dirt road. So this isn't obviously a complete repair because I haven't run through all the monitors. I haven't run the evap test, the oxygen sensors, the catalyst efficiency, all that. But these were the two codes that were immediately popping right up after I cleared them. Next time I start it, it would immediately put the engine light back on. So it's just peeling the onion back on this truck and starting with the most obvious hard codes, and then in the future see what pops up and deal with that. But again, no engine light and no codes detected. These parts are cheap and available. Not hard to change. The vent valve there, I mean, really the hardest part is going to be connecting those hoses. Some of the new ones do come with the hoses. Pretty simple. And that knock sensor, just need a 13mm socket, and that's a piece of cake. So a couple of quick, cheap, free for me, cheap for anybody fixes, and this truck does not instantly get a check engine light anymore.